Charlotte is not fictionalized as a woman of color. Queen Charlotte was a woman of color.
Well, yes.
So you just have to do your historical research and you will see that is true. They complained when she...
Except it's not true, and we gotta stop doing this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Today we are talking about Queen Charlotte, a Brigderton story, and that's exactly what it is. It's a Brigderton story. I know Brigderton is a super popular show right now. They have a new season that I believe has just released, and of course it's bringing up conversations about race because Brigderton is this storyline, a fictional storyline that gets into the lives of British noblemen and noblewomen, and they've done a whole diversity show on this particular Netflix fictional series. Now, two of the lead actresses in Brigderton and in Brigderton, A Queen Charlotte Story are now talking about Queen Charlotte's race. And this has been something that we've spoken about on this channel before. Many say that Queen Charlotte was black, and they're pushing forward this narrative in the clip we're about to watch. So let's hear it from them first.
Queen Charlotte is not fictionalized as a woman of color. Queen Charlotte was a woman of color.
Well, yes.
So you just have to do your historical research and you will see that is true. They complained when she came to the English court. They complained about her ugly thick lips and her ugly wide nose and her mulatto skin, and they powdered her down when they painted her. So she is an actual person. What's happened with the show that's been fantastic is Shonda does what Shonda does, and she says, what if we put Queen Charlotte into these series of books in which she does not appear? And what impact does that have on the court and the story that we tell? What you're seeing is a version of history that is a more realistic version of history, although it's a fiction, it's not a documentary, and it gives us an opportunity to play these characters of status, and it gives the audience, you guys, an opportunity for us to see ourselves in a historical drama in a different way.
Okay, let's get into what she just said there. Of course, I think the last part of her statement is true. It does give black actors and actresses an opportunity to play British royalty, noblemen, noble women. But that's exactly what it is. It's a fictional opportunity to do that. If we're actually looking at the time period that is discussed and featured in Brigderton, in A Queen Charlotte Story, this largely was not happening. But still, we're going to come over and paint over history, not only in a fictional sense, but we're going to go on to tell people that Queen Charlotte was, in fact, a black woman. Now, I want you guys to look up on your own pictures of Queen Charlotte, but I'll put a lot of her portraits up on the screen right now. Do you guys see a black woman? I'll wait. Blink, blink. No, there's not a black woman featured in any of these portraits. And it's not because she was powdered down or because her black features were made to look more white. It's because she was, in fact, not a woman of color. Now, this theory, and it's exactly that, a theory, comes from one particular historian. His name is Mario de Valdez y Cocom. Now, you go and look at this Guardian article, which I'll bring up for you, and we're going to get into the ancestry that he claims Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, a German woman, had. Okay, now the article writes, if you Google Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, you'll quickly come across the historian by the name Mario de Valdez, okay? He argues that her features, as seen in royal portraits, were conspicuously African and contends that they were noted by numerous contemporaries. He claims that the queen, though German, was directly descended from a black branch of the Portuguese royal family related to Margarida de Castro e Sousa, a 15th century Portuguese noblewoman 9 generations removed. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 9 generations removed. Whose ancestry, this article claims, traces from a 13th century ruler by the name Alfonso III and his lover, Madrigana. Now this long centuries old lover, Madrigana, Valdez says was Moor and thus black African. And when you think Moor, think Berber, think Arab, think sub-Saharan African. There is a very thin history on this individual and whether or not she actually appeared to be black, never mind the fact that she is hundreds of years removed from Queen Charlotte. There are white people right here, right now, walking amongst us who have black ancestors or dark featured ancestors hundreds of years removed. And guess what? Those people are right now, they're white. Have you guys ever seen a mixed person? You're like, you don't even look mixed. You look white. You look white. Now multiply that times what, 9 generations and then get back to me on Queen Charlotte. Now, luckily people are responding to these two actresses, Adjoa, who's mainly making the point. She plays Lady Danbury, and Golda, who plays Queen Charlotte in this series.
Charlotte is not fictionalized as a woman of color. Queen Charlotte was a woman of colour.
Well, yes.
So you just have to do your historical research.
250,000 likes for a post by a respected feminist account selling something that is just not true. Every time Brigderton returns, this false belief that Queen Charlotte was actually black also comes back, and it has to stop. Queen Charlotte was a princess of the German Mecklenburg-Strelitz, and we can trace back her entire lineage. And 500 years before she lived, we find an ancestor of Moorish descent who may or may not have been of color. Chances of me having black ancestry that's way closer than that are really big, and I'm not a woman of color.
Shonda does what Shonda does.
History is filled with extremely interesting actual women of color, and I suggest that we start making TV shows about them and not give credit where there's no credit due.
What you're seeing is a version of history that is a more realistic version of history.
A realistic version of history would include the transatlantic slave trade, and Queen Charlotte was not an abolitionist. No hate to these two actresses who were probably told this by people they trusted to tell them the truth.
And there you have it. People are sort of being spoon-fed these lies and these bits of revisionist history, and then they're going out and spreading it into the world, and that's what these two actresses are doing. That's what the show is really doing when they try to pair their historical facts with the fictional depiction that they've created in the show. And I think a lot of Bridgerton, because of its diversity, sort of flies in the face of some of the conversations we could be having about the racial dynamics that were present in this era. If you take Black people or Indian people and you just place them into the Bridgerton era that you're depicting in this fictional series, you're not referencing the actual racial divide that existed at the time, the colorism, the discussions that were being had about people of darker skin tones and about people who didn't look like your typical nobleman and noblewoman. So instead of discussing those disparities and talking about things like racial hatred, you're removing that from the historical period and painting over it. But this is not new. People claiming that certain historical figures were in fact Black people. I'm going to show you a TikTok that blew my mind when I watched it.
The knights, why do you think they call them knights? Because they were dark as night. They were dark. Beethoven was a black man. King James was a black man. Mozart was a black man.
I even saw that in Hollywood, that how they make cowboys all white when they're actually black.
Yes, there you go. There you go. So they paint over our images like Christ, like Moses, like it's called iconoclasm. It is literally something that they did.
It's just so wild. Guys, take actual Black historic figures and speak about them rather than taking ones that are white or of European descent and then trying to make them Black. And we've seen other people do this. I think AOC recently made a comment about Spaniards and cowboys. And she said, you know, if you think that the Spanish were the first cowboys, they need to go and talk to the Mexicans. How do you think that happened? Who do you think colonized the area? So our lack of historical knowledge sort of leads to these wildly incorrect interpretations. And it's funny that in that video, we watch a Black man say that Mozart was Black. Now we have this new Amadeus fictional series that's coming out that features Will Sharp, who's Asian, as Mozart. We are just all over the place when it comes to rewriting history and telling it through a modern lens for the sake of making people feel better about watching things that are diverse on screen. And some people go even further than that. It's not just fictional depictions that are telling history through a new racial lens. You have the Cleopatra series that was posted by Netflix that claimed to be a historical documentary in which they blackified Cleopatra. And we all know that that's not what Cleopatra looked like. And the thing is, if you truly cared about Black people or Black history, you would try to find real examples of Black people and Black history. Instead, you're just trying to play pander politics to this particular group of people because you've been told that they're marginalized and that Black Lives Matter and it's the movement of the moment. So then you go and swap out all these characters and all these historical figures for Black people when you could just tell the truth. And it takes away from the viewing experience. It makes the person watching the show have to suspend their disbelief in order to engage with the show itself and engage with its material when we could just be honest. And to go further than that and claim that your fictional depiction of something is actually a historically accurate depiction of something is just insane. Guys, quick interruption of today's video, not to give you an ad, but to shout out my supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting the work that Taylor and I do on this show every single day. And I wanted to announce to you guys that we have relaunched Patreon this week. Things are going to be changing over there if you'd like to sign up. We do have 3 tiers. Your girl made the first tier free. You guys are called the free thinkers because I do think you guys should be able to engage on our Patreon for free if you want to. For the free thinkers, you'll be able to suggest topics for the show, give me your commentary on different topics that we're going to be covering. Plus, you get a quarterly newsletter from myself to you. Our second tier truth seekers will be able to get a little bit more behind the scenes, and they'll be able to submit questions to be featured on this show. And then, of course, we have our final tier, the tea drinkers. Okay, tea drinkers are going to get an extra episode every single week, meaning 4 bonus episodes a month, where you sit down with me, we talk about personal things, I answer your questions, we talk about things that are not going to be featured over here on YouTube. Okay, we're getting into the tea. So guys, that's the new Patreon. If you'd like to sign up, the link is in the description below. And thank you to every single person who's become a patron so far. It's amazing. I cannot thank you enough for supporting me and this show. Let's get back to the video. We cannot go through life and creation just blackifying everything because we feel bad for Black people, okay? And I'm saying that as a half Black person. It needs to stop. And since we're talking about the UK and England with Brigderton and a Queen Charlotte story, it's also interesting to point out this is not only happening in the media that we're watching from an entertainment standpoint, it's also happening in advertisements. Where there's about a 4% population of Black people in England and in Wales, their advertisements feature Black people at a rate of above 50%. Why? It's because we're pushing diversity quotas and DEI in virtually every facet of what we're doing in the realm of creation and outside of creation at this point. And it needs to stop. And it's not because I don't want to see Black people on screen or I don't want to see Black people represented. I want to see them represented accurately and fairly. And in doing this, you're actually creating controversy for Black people where there should be none. You're creating racial divide where there should be none. And you're creating racial conversations where there should be none. If we just go along with actual facts and actual logic and reason, and we depict that in the things that we're creating, we wouldn't be having these discussions. Because you're asking people to suspend their disbelief and to engage with an alternate reality, and then you're telling them that's the actual reality, you're creating these discussions and then calling those discussions hatred. So there you have it. Queen Charlotte was not Black. Neither was Mozart. Neither was Beethoven. Neither was Queen Cleopatra. But here we are talking about these things because we've decided we pity Black people and now we have to rewrite history in order to make them feel better. And I guess because this got 1 million likes, it is making people feel better to reimagine history in this way and to rewrite it in this way. But it's simply not the truth. And if you truly want to make Black people feel better or represent them or talk about them in a historical sense, maybe we should just try to do that accurately. And if you want to do it fictionally, write Black stories. Don't take white ones and make them Black and then claim they actually were Black. I think we're all tired of it at this point, and I think we could do better. Guys, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do get out, but do so respectfully. I encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.